My warm greetings to everyone and welcome to my lecture presentation about organic fertilizers, pesticides, and integrated pest management. My name is Michael Victor A. Gonzalez from West Visayas State University College of Agriculture and Forestry. So let's proceed to our lecture proper. So let's proceed to the introduction to organic fertilizers. So the organic fertilizers are essential. These are considered as our tool in our organic farming because this fertilizer is very important to make our soil fertile while maintaining the environmental sustainability because it is a form of organic product. So for our BS DevComm students, you need to understand that the organic fertilizers is not just about farming techniques. It is about communicating the sustainable practices to our farming communities and advocating for the ecological agriculture. So we need our your audience must have to understand that by using the organic fertilizer, one way is that they are also improving the ecological agriculture that provides a sustainable practices and also promoting food security in the long term. So what are the types of organic fertilizers? So on our previous lesson, we discussed it further the process of composting. So this just a short recap. The compost is a decomposed organic matter that enriches the soil because of its but abundant uh, bio bio or life in that matter or that material that came from decomposed materials, and that is very helpful for the growth of our plants. So this is not only improves the plant growth but also engages our communities in sustainable waste management. So you got a very important material that enriches your soil, and at the same time, the materials that commonly being thrown away are being utilized for a more important uses. So it gives you a more efficient and more productive farming practices. So for the BS DevCom students, consider how you can raise awareness about this benefit or benefits to our community for a composting programs. Next is the green manure. So green manure are crops like the cover or clover or alfalfa. So these crops are rich in nitrogen and are grown to be incorporated into the soil. So these crops are adding a nutrients naturally. So your role could involve educating the farmers on the benefits of green manuring to maintain soil health. So how would you explain this to a farming community? Then the animal manure. So a natural source of nutrients like the nitrogen and phosphorus commonly used in organic farming. How would you communicate the importance of this to the on the importance of proper manure management to ensure environmental safety? So you need to uh, consider the the way the both the benefits and also the potential harm. So since the animal manure, if not properly or not yet decomposed, it produces an ammonia that could be harmful to the community. So there are proper management, proper way of handling the animal manure, and this should be done accordingly to follow the standard procedure so that it will be utilized for a greater purpose, a greater benefit. And also we have a what we call bone meal and the blood meal. So this are animal-based fertilizers. So for those who have livestock or huge ranch, they are utilizing this. Instead, they utilize the bone meal that provides phosphorus, while the blood meal is rich in nitrogen. So how can you guide our local farmers to select the best organic fertilizers suited to their crops? So you must have to formulate on your strategy on how you will reach out or how will you deliver your communication to our community. And also our vermicompost. So in our previous lesson, I gave you a more detailed explanation and procedures on doing the vermicompost. So the earthworms help create the nutrient-rich soil amendments. So this is what we call the vermicast. This vermicast came from the worms who ate the organic matter. And this vermicast is very rich in nutrients that are vital for the growth of the crops. So, what are the key points that you would emphasize in a community workshop on starting a vermicomposting project? So, you think about that. Okay, so I prepared an interactive questions to stimulate your thinking related to our organic fertilizers. First is, how can you promote composting as an eco-friendly solution to both our urban and rural communities? So, how can you promote? Then, if you were to design a communication campaign about the benefits of green manure, what would be your main message? And number three, in your role as a DevComm specialist, and later on you will be assigned to work in the field, how will you explain the environmental advantages of using the organic animal manure to local farmers? So let's proceed to the organic pesticides. So the organic pesticides came from natural sources like plants, minerals, or microorganisms, and are designed to reduce the harm to our ecosystem. So unlike in the conventional pesticides that can eradicate even the good insects and microorganisms, organic pesticides is not really that uh, uh, damaging, but rather uh, the organic pesticides, we need to understand that the use of this organic pesticides is crucial, especially for our BS DevCom students to communicate this message and to help our farmers through to transition to a more safer, eco-friendly farming practices. So we need to strategize because our farmers are being using the chemical-based fertilizers for so long, decades. So it's been in their uh, practices. It's been in their tradition or culture. So we need to make a strategic approach on how to convince them to transition and to use the organic pesticides in their farming because if they came from the conventional pesticides, they are used to see the results immediately after they spray the chemicals. Immediately they can see that the insects are dead in their field, but they don't know that even the good or the beneficial organisms are also being killed, and that resulted to a what we call imbalance in the ecosystem. And in that case, so you can see that there are a lot of different types of pests in commonly even in the news that you can witness the impact of this of these chemicals. Yes, it can help in one short time, but the long-term effect is a sometimes we did not even recognize how it can affect in the uh, long-term perspective. Okay, so let's proceed. So here, the following slides are the types of organic pesticides that uh, we need to be aware, or we need to understand this type of pesticides in the organic farming practices. So first is the botanical pesticides. So since the word botanical, this derived from plants. So they are non-toxic to humans and other target organisms. So you need to understand that as a communicator, how could you convince our farmers to switch to botanical pesticides? So you need to emphasize that the long-term impact of using the botanical pesticides. So it could help using uh, infographics and the documentation that where you can be able to really emphasize the good impact of the botanical pesticides. So even if you can also use a testimony, if you know someone who are been doing this botanical pesticides and they are applying it on their farm, um, that resulted to a more productive farming compared to conventional, then you can also do so to document their practices. Next is the microbial pesticides. So the microbial pesticides, in the word microbial, so these are, for example, the Bacillus thuringiensis, target specific pests without affecting the beneficial organisms. So these uh, microbial microbial organism are helpful to our farming. So how could you create an educational material to inform our farmers about the safe application of these microbial pesticides? So that will be part of your strategic approach. Then our mineral-based pesticides. So since it came from minerals such as sulfur and copper, and they help control the fungal diseases. So these are commonly used during if in the farms that are being identified of having a fungal disease. So this can be a very helpful. This can be a very helpful pesticides to be used. Okay, so what would you be your approach to educating a community on using this substance responsibly to avoid environmental damages? Then our soaps and soil. So these insecticidal soaps and the horticultural oils are effective against a what we call soft-bodied insects. So for our farmers, I can see this to some of the fields that I've visited, and they really testify that in some cases by using this insecticidal soaps and horticultural oils are helpful to their practices. So here, you need to answer this. How can you communicate the simplicity and safety of using these products if you compared it to the synthetic alternatives? Okay, so let's proceed. So here, our interactive questions. What strategies would you use to communicate the benefits of our organic pesticides to a skeptical farming community? So as a communication specialist, you need to highlight the the pros and cons of the using of the organic pesticides. And since you need to change, your goal is to help them transition to a more sustainable farming practices. You will use the comparative You can use it so that it can help you and guide you to approach them. Then number two is how could you guide our farmers in using the microbial pesticides to avoid the resistance issues and pests. So since we're talking about microbial pesticides, this topic are more on pest management. So I advise that you reach out for a specialist in the pest management who has a background related to this because you are dealing with a farmers and the farmers are seasoned in their practices. So if you approach the community, it is better for you to have an expert so that these experts could be able to answer their queries, um, their hesitations and doubts, so that this resistance can be able to prevented or it can be able to address. Number three, in promoting the mineral-based pesticides, what key points would you focus on to ensure the environmental conservations? So, points you need to highlight the mineral, uh, mineral or the impact of these minerals to the crops. So we do have a micro and macro minerals that are vital to our crops, to their growth and development. So by using this, you can be able to highlight that it also create or it can also make a impact to the sustainability of their farm by using this mineral-based pesticides compared to using the synthetic chemicals that in the long term it creates an acidic uh, soil or resulted to a harm long-term damage to the ecosystem because it eradicates the the life within that area. So you need to highlight those. You need to highlight these key points so that you can be able to deliver it to our community. So let's proceed to the integrated pest management. So the integrated pest management is a holistic, it is a broad approach to pest control that emphasizes using various methods like the biological, cultural, mechanical, and chemical. So in some farms, they are using all of this to prevent and to eradicate the pests that are damaging their farm. So the IPM are being designed to manage the pests in an eco-friendly way. So as a DevCom students, your role is to advocate the IPM as a sustainable solution in agricultural communities. So facilitating the transition away from a heavy pesticides use. You know, students, you need to understand that heavy pesticide use can cause a long-term impact to our health since the chemicals are penetrating uh, to the food that we eat. So we cannot. So that if you can notice, uh, decades ago, people are more healthier. People don't get sick easily compared to our time, where illness are uh, can be it's it's just a normal thing nowadays. So that's why you are an advocate. You are that is this is your advocacy. If you are if you want to help our community, that is one of your advocacy that could create that will create a bigger impact to our society.